excellent conversation with President-elect Trump. It was wide-ranging. We talked about some of the organizational issues in setting up a White House. We talked about foreign policy. We talked about domestic policy. And as I said last night, my number one priority in the coming 2 months is to try to facilitate a transition that ensures our president-elect is successful. I have been very encouraged by the, I think, interest in President-elect Trump's wanting to work with my team around many of the issues that this great country faces. And I believe that it is important for all of us, regardless of party and regardless of political preferences, to now come together, work together, to deal with the many challenges that we face. And in the meantime, Michelle has had a chance to greet the incoming First Lady, and we had an excellent conversation with her as well, and we want to make sure that they feel welcome as they prepare to make this transition. And most of all, I want to emphasize to you, Mr. President-elect, that we now are going to want to do everything we can to help you succeed, because if you succeed, then the country succeeds. Please.
Well, thank you very much, President Obama. This was a meeting that was going to last for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and we were just going to get to know each other. We had never met each other. I have great respect. The meeting lasted for almost an hour and a half, and it could have, as far as I'm concerned, it could have gone on for a lot longer. We really, we discussed a lot of different situations, some wonderful and some difficulties. I very much look forward to dealing with the president in the future, including counsel. He explained some of the difficulties, some of the high-flying assets, and some of the really great things that have been achieved. So, Mr. President, it was a great honor being with you, and I look forward to being with you many, many more times in the future. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody. We are not going to be taking any questions. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Here's a good rule. Don't answer any questions when they just start. It's always the last one. Come on, guys. Yeah, come on, guys. Let's go. Very good man.
And that was President Barack Obama finishing up by joking with Donald Trump, giving him some advice. That's what you do when they keep asking questions. But President Obama saying that he is there to facilitate a transition that assures the president-elect's success, regardless of political preferences. President Obama said, this is a time to come together. And then you heard from Donald Trump. He said the meeting was an hour and a half. He wished it was longer. He said he looks forward to dealing with the president in the future, and it was a great honor to sit down with him. Is this what you were looking for, Charlie Hurt?
Well, you know, as a more conservative person, it's not gonna be a walk for conservatives. This is you know, we're going into uncharted waters. Donald Trump is going to negotiate, and it's going to, and luckily from my perspective, he has Republicans that he'll be negotiating with, but he is going to want to get things done, and that can be kind of terrifying.
What did you make of that exchange, Lisa?
I think it's positive. I mean, this is what the country needs. There's been so much division, and you especially look at the general election. So much hostility, so much anger, so much name-calling, so much divisiveness, and this is exactly what the country needs, I believe, is for the president to be respectful of Donald Trump and President-elect Donald Trump to be respectful of the president. And I also think give kudos to Hillary Clinton yesterday, because I actually appreciated her concession speech, and I think she struck the right tones, and she was an adult about it. And this is exactly what the country needs, is some healing. 15-minute meeting turned into 90 minutes, Julia Roginski. Are you happy with what you just heard?
Yeah, I think it's the right tone. I think they both set the right tone. I hope that tone continues. Trump sounded a lot more statesmanlike today, and he did on his election night, than I think we've heard, frankly, from either candidate during this election. So I'm hopeful that this tone will continue. Charlie, but as you were talking, what was interesting to me was it occurs to me that the most powerful people in Washington right now, besides obviously the president-elect, are people like John McCain, people like Lindsey Graham, because they can cut deals with Chuck Schumer on issues that they don't necessarily agree with Donald Trump on, and sway really the course of an election, the course of legislation in ways that I think they might not have the freedom to do if they had had a Mike Pence, for example, as president, or somebody whom they supported vociferously, or somebody with whom they ideologically agreed. So to me, John McCain, for example, just got a 6-year mandate. He now has really nothing to lose. Who knows?
But I want to bring Kennedy in here, because that image that's up on the screen right now is really something. Because as we let off the show, reminding everyone, President Obama, while on the campaign trail, labeled Donald Trump as someone that was unfit to be president. And Donald Trump promised to basically undo everything he has done while he has been in office. And there they sit. With this transition of power, what did you make of the meeting?
No, it's interesting because you look at that, you realize the aura of the presidency is in itself transcendent. You know, it is an office that very few people have held, and it's a bond that the office holders share. And I think there's a mutual respect there. They really haven't had that much time to disagree since the election, which is fine. But it's really important, because not only does it send a message to the world and to world leaders that this is the United States of America, that there will be a smooth transition of power, that there is a mutual respect for the office, and calming some of those fears, and seeing that picture alone, I think, does a lot. It also sends a message to the protesters out there that, you know, this is going to be a new administration, and for half the country, you don't get the administration that you want, but it is still one country.
They also talked about their wives, and First Lady Michelle Obama, they just said, was giving Melania Trump a walk around the White House and introducing her to the scene.
Yeah. What does not surprise me about this is to see Donald Trump behaving in this presidential way that I've never doubted that he was capable of, and he's got a lovely family, and you know, I don't, you know, all of this, you know, people running around with their hair on fire, terrified that Donald Trump was going to destroy the presidency or destroy it was just ridiculous. Obviously, he is a, you know, he won, and he'll be fine.
Well, and I think if you're Donald Trump, I mean, this must be imagine how humbling it must be to be president of the United States, just the magnitude of it all, the enormity of it all. And I think we saw that when he walked on the stage to give his acceptance speech. I think that is the most emotional we have ever seen Donald Trump. It looked like he was almost going to cry. And so I'm sure if you were him walking into the White House, sitting down with the current president of the United States, having some of these conversations has to be a humbling experience with just the great amount of power that was just given to him.
And something else that Donald Trump, as he was finishing and closing his remarks, he said it was a great honor to sit down with the president. And he said, I look forward to sitting down with him many, many more times in the future. What do you think he was saying there?
I think he was saying that he intends to make this as you know, as smooth as you can, and do it obviously peacefully. And I think that they probably both realize that we may have trouble ahead with what we've seen last night with the protests. But what I think that the Rolling Stones should get together and throw a free concert for all the protesters and just play "You Can't Always Get What You Want,"
which would Donald Trump's theme song.
So they could sit there and look at me like, who are these old guys?
I mean, Republicans have been having to of course, Republicans have been having to listen to that song for the last.
Yeah, but that's, you know, and you raise such a good point. And again, as the liberal here, I have to say, you're so right. You don't always get what you want. And if these protesters want to channel their frustration, they should channel it into midterm elections. They should channel it into.
Wait, but how does the lyric end?
But if you try sometimes, you might get what you need.
You might get what you need, right?
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
That was also one of the main themes in The Princess and the Frog. That was one of the songs. Great score by Randy Newman. I absolutely love it, and it's very, very true. And for all these college kids taking the day off to go cry in their little blankies in their dorm rooms, suck it up. And try being a libertarian. When's the last time I was satisfied with the outcome of a presidential election?
Are you bummed about your boy Gary Johnson? This must be a tough time for you.
Come on now. Everything's going so good. We were all unified.
He even set the
what is
marijuana.
Aleppo? You know, I mean, it's a philosophical question.
Depends on the meaning of Aleppo is, right?
Exactly right.
He even set the marijuana movement back.
No, he didn't. Look at all the people. Look at all the states. 20% of the country is now living in a cloud of reefer smoke, and that is freedom, Charlie.
50%.
And that's how every millennial is getting through the outcome.
Well, they need that instead of the counseling dogs at college universities.
Oh, don't get us started.
Don't get us started on that.
Thanks, Lisa.
Sorry.
All right, well, it's going to be a busy day for Donald Trump. We know that he's going to be on his way to Capitol Hill in a few moments. You're looking at a video of him just meeting with the president. They did make some comments, and it was talking about the transition of power. They were both honored to meet with each other, shaking hands. You see the picture there. But such a huge moment. And I feel like going to Julie on this. You didn't predict this.
No, I was so wrong. Thanks for pointing that out. Let me reiterate again how wrong I was. Do you know that Josh Patch, who works on our show, I had to go and buy him a really expensive bottle of scotch yesterday.
Yeah, I have to pay Gavin McInnes $100
I think
on
I
my
did
FCM
too.
show tonight.
Actually,
we were deciding back. Gavin's going to be rich, and he doesn't have to eat the $100 bill, which is what he promised to do.
I think I'm going to be broke. I made a lot of bad bets. Anyway, what was your question?
Well,
before you decided to humiliate
watching the video here as we discuss this, because we are going to look for Donald Trump to leave the White House. But I guess my question is, what do you make of this moment? And I'm talking about them meeting today and meeting at the White House and discussing that transition. Is this a turning point for those who just have not been happy in the last day or so since this happened?
No, because they're not going to be happy with his policies once he starts enacting them. But I do want to say this is the best example of why this is the greatest country in the world. Where else in the world, well, probably in Western Europe, so I shouldn't say that we're the only country, but this is a shining beacon. Where else do you have two people and two parties that went after each other in the most vile, horrible terms ever? And when it's over, you have protests, but nobody's delegitimizing. I hope nobody's delegitimizing the outcome of this election. You have a about to be former president and incoming president sit down from different political parties who savaged each other for many years, talk about the transition of power and a peaceful transition of power. Kennedy, you nailed it when you said that earlier. This is what makes this country great. For all the people on my side of the aisle who are devastated, as I am, about the outcome of this election, channel your energy into having a different outcome in the midterms or 4 years from now, but do not delegitimize the man who just got elected. He's going to be our president for the next 4 years.
I want to get this in because, let's see, who is this coming from? Okay, so one of our producers that was there at the White House saying that Donald Trump ended those comments, you know, because the microphones went down, and ended those comments with the president saying, "Very good man," at the end when the press was shouting questions. Important to get that in there. And now we know that the president-elect, Donald Trump, is heading to Capitol Hill. He'll be having lunch with Speaker Paul Ryan.